if you're a Big 12 fan, we have like major coaching stuff going on at UCF, Utah, Oklahoma State, and West Virginia all right now. And this is pretty fascinating to me, everything that's going on. I have to start with UCF, though. And I know UCF, you guys are in a good mood right now. Frost warning. Scott Frost is coming back after leaving in 2017. And I hate to rain on the parade, my friends. I really do. I don't want to be that guy. I was with you all in the offseason. I was higher on UCF than most. I jumped on the Gus bus. I was all about it, my friends. I really was. But I'm going to have to rain on your parade a little bit here with Scott Frost. I think this is such a boom or bust hire, and it really scares me about what this could be for UCF, okay? I know a lot of you have told me, I asked on Twitter, and thank you to everybody who responded, like UCF fans, how you feeling about this? And I got overwhelmingly positive responses there about where people were at. And I had a lot of people telling me, you know, he's going to restore the culture. He brings such a great culture. And also, who out there was, you know, overwhelmingly good? Like, who would have been the knockout hire that you're saying we should have gone with instead? To which my response would be, yeah, I think you're missing the point if that's what you're saying and doing. You know, you need a good ball coach. And UCF does strike me as a place with how brash it is. And I think that's good for the program, how brash it is, how much they really want to win. That also can be dangerous sometimes. You know, I'm not equating this hire to this level. I don't think it's that bad. But like Kansas was a place that for a while I thought was just, they were too locked in on football and like, hey, we're Kansas. We should let's get a big, sexy name. Instead of a good ball coach, let's get a big, sexy name. And they went out and they hired Charlie Weiss. And that was predictably a disaster. And then they went out and, hey, we can get a guy who won a national championship. And here comes Les Miles. And that was an even bigger disaster. Then they finally just said, hey, let's go find a ball coach. And Travis Goff, to his credit, went and found, hey, here's this guy that's like won everywhere at every level. And he's like turning around. He's winning in Buffalo, New York. And they hire Lance Leipold. And look what happens. You need a good ball coach, not a sexy name. So, all right, was there like a sexy name that made a ton of sense outside of Scott Frost, I suppose? Like, no, but I don't think that's the point. I think you go find the best dude. Now, Terry Mohajir's an AD that I have a lot of respect for. He went out and did his search. Apparently there wasn't anybody that excited him more than Scott Frost, and that's okay. That's fine. I would just be worried about the floor with this thing. If it works out, it's great. It's clearly re-energized the fan base immediately. Like that happened right away. And if he comes back and does it again, what a story, man. Guy leaves after the unbeaten season in 2017, claiming a national championship. It seemed like he was very torn up and conflicted about having to leave for Nebraska. Gets to come back and do right by everybody in this comeback story and lead them into the new Big 12 and capitalize on all the fertile recruiting ground that you're sitting in the middle of. I get it. A lot of upside there. But how about the downside, man? I mean, yes, he went 19-7 in 2 years at UCF, including the 13-0 season. But then he went to Nebraska and he was 16-31, guys. Like, Nebraska has been bad for like 15 years at this point. But I mean, Frost was really bad. Really bad. 16-31. He went 10-26 in the Big Ten. He lost 2.5 times more Big Ten games than he won in 5 years. Did not go to a bowl game. He has not come back to a college job since then. He spent time in the NFL with Sean McVay on the Rams staff, which I know that's a lot of people have been pitching that to me as a real selling point here. Hey, he learned from one of the best offensive minds. And okay, well, I didn't really have a doubt that Scott Frost could put together an offense. I mean, I definitely saw him do that, obviously, at UCF. It's more like running an entire Power 4 program because, well, that's one of the things that has changed here. Like, not only is this counting on him not being the guy he was at Nebraska, but it's also like, hey, how much has the landscape changed and the UCF job changed since 2017? Like, quite a bit. This is not the American Athletic Conference anymore. You're in the Big 12. And jokes aside from the SEC folks that are probably still hanging around here, that's a step up. That's a step up in competition for him to do that. It's also an environment where NIL is much different than it was even 2 years ago when he was last coaching. Much different, right? I mean, NIL has turned into a much larger deal. 2022, we were kind of just starting to wade into that. Now you basically need a GM. It's a different thing, different element for Scott Frost to be dealing with here. So that I think is like the tangible, like I would be worried that, hey, we saw him as a Power 4 head coach and it was a disaster, a total disaster, unmitigated disaster in Nebraska. He's been gone for a couple of years. He has not been back in the college ranks since then. And you're trusting him now to recreate magic from 7 years ago when this was just a totally different game and UCF was in a different conference. I think that's a lot of risk. The other thing, I just don't like the general vibes with the nostalgia hire. And West Virginia fans, I will tell you the exact same thing about Rich Rod, and it sounds like decent chance that could happen. I would tell you the exact same thing about Rich Rod. That seems dangerous to me to do the nostalgia play. I get it. When you're sad and lonely, you're laying on the couch at night, sad and lonely, it's very easy to pull out the phone and text your ex. I understand. I get it. You feel like you got nothing there and you remember the good times and like, man, it really sucks right now. We're 4-8. Remember when we were unbeaten? Remember when we were 13-0 and declaring ourselves national champs and pissing everybody off? That was great. What a time to be alive. What if I text Scott right now and just see if he's up, and you send that you up text? I get it. I get the appeal. I understand why that's tempting. I also understand that that's typically not the best thing for you. That is typically not going to be the best thing for everybody involved. And I say that as somebody who, yes, as a K-State fan and somebody who covered the team full-time for a decade, lived through K-State rehiring Bill Snyder. For the record, I was very much against that hire when it happened, and I have an article in the K-State student newspaper to prove it, where people got so mad at me for being vehemently against the hire that they told me they hoped that I died and cockroaches came crawling out of my eye sockets. True story. Somebody did say that in the comments. Vividly remember that from like 2009. I was against that. I think Bill Snyder's kind of a unicorn. I would not trust everybody to be able to do the Bill Snyder thing. I don't know. I think there's a lot of risk to it, UCF fans. I'm glad you guys are happy. I certainly hope it works out. I think it would be great for the league if it does. But I'm looking at it as an outsider, not nearly as optimistic as all of you guys are. This is swinging for the fences, dude. This is Adam Dunn. This is Adam Dunn, He's going up there. He's going to hit 200 every year, but smack 45 bombs. Maybe this is one of those in the upper tank, but it could also be swinging your shoulder out of its socket at a curveball down in the dirt. Just saying. And West Virginia, like I said, Rich Rod, that could be it too. Please do not. Now, Rich Rod's a step above Jimbo. You are tying yourselves into an expensive disaster, Ren Baker, if you hire Jimbo. Doesn't sound like that's happening, though. It sounds like a lot of the buzz right now is around Rich Rod and Andy Kotelnicki. And what did I say about ball coaches? Andy Kotelnicki is that guy. That's a guy that I think is a ball coach, man. That's a guy that I think is a ball coach. Andy Kotelnicki would be who I would want hired if I were a West Virginia fan. But again, I think there's a lot of the nostalgia play going on there with Rich Rod and West Virginia. At least, though, Rich Rod, one, had some good years at Arizona after he flamed out at Michigan, or solid to good. And two, has been doing a good job at Jacksonville State. I think that at least makes me feel a little bit better about it.